So today we're jumping into the story of two absolute titans of the database world, MongoDB and Cassandra. And this isn't just some dry tech story. It's really about a clash of ideas, a rivalry that literally shaped the internet as we know it today.
To really get this, we have to rewind the clock to a moment of total crisis. The early web was just exploding, right? Growing faster than anyone could have imagined. And the tools they had, these old-school relational databases, they were starting to creak and groan and just break under the pressure.
So yeah, you've got this digital world that's basically on fire. The core tools that everything was built on were failing, and the old way of thinking about data just wasn't cutting it anymore.
So what was the big deal? Well, it all came down to rigidity. These older databases, they wanted everything neat and tidy, in perfect little tables with rows and columns. But the web? The web was messy. We're talking user profiles, blog comments, photos, all this chaotic, unstructured stuff that was growing like crazy. The old guard was just choking the life out of innovation. Something new was needed, and fast. And right into the middle of all this chaos, two new challengers step onto the scene, and each one had a completely radical idea about how to fix things, sparking a debate that would define the next decade.
First up, we have MongoDB. It hit the scene in 2009, and it was the fast, agile newcomer. Its whole game was this document model. Basically, instead of forcing your data into a rigid box, you could just throw it into a flexible JSON-like file. It was like going from a super organized library to a flexible filing cabinet where you can store anything you want.
And then you've got Cassandra. This thing was born a year earlier inside one of the biggest data factories on Earth, Facebook. Cassandra was an absolute beast from day one. It used a column family model that was built for one reason and one reason only: to handle insane amounts of data at a global scale and to never, ever, ever go down.
So you can see right away, these two were cut from totally different cloth. Mongo comes out of the scrappy startup world, built for developers who needed to move fast. Cassandra, born from the needs of a tech giant that couldn't afford a second of downtime. One gives you flexible documents, the other gives you hyper-scalable columns. They were two completely different answers to the very same problem.
And this difference in their DNA, it wasn't just a technical detail. It led to a real fundamental clash of philosophies. This wasn't just a question of which one had better features, it was a debate about what's more important in the first place.
Suddenly, the whole tech world is buzzing, asking this one huge question: what do you bet on? Do you bet on the flexibility to build, to pivot, to change things on the fly? Or do you bet on the raw power to scale to millions, even billions of users without ever breaking a sweat? Agility or resilience?
Okay, so this table really lays it all out. On one side, you have MongoDB. It's all about being developer-friendly, simple to use, perfect for getting a new idea off the ground fast. It was the choice for teams that lived by the mantra, move fast and break things. Then, on the other side, there's Cassandra. It was engineered for massive, bulletproof systems. If failure was not an option, you went with Cassandra.
So with these completely different playbooks, they didn't just go head-to-head. Nope. They started carving up the map, each one conquering its own territory and finding its own path to power.
MongoDB pretty quickly became the secret weapon for the entire startup world. And why? Well, think about it. If you're a small team with a massive idea, you can't waste months designing a perfect database schema. With Mongo, you could build a prototype and get your product out there in record time. That flexibility was its absolute superpower.
And its growth just exploded, right? It was partly because of this amazing, passionate developer community that sprung up around it. And then they launched their own cloud service, MongoDB Atlas, which made it ridiculously easy for anyone to get started. It just became the default choice for so many new projects.
Cassandra, meanwhile, took a totally different route. It wasn't flashy, it became the silent, powerful backbone for some of the biggest companies on the planet. For the services that you and I use every single day, when they absolutely had to be available for millions of people all over the world, they turned to Cassandra.
I mean, just think about companies like Netflix, Apple, Uber. These are services that literally can't go down, ever. The kind that handle mind-boggling amounts of traffic from every corner of the globe. They built their most critical systems on Cassandra because for them, that promise of extreme availability wasn't a feature, it was a requirement.
All right, so the dust settles on this great battle for dominance. What's the big takeaway? What's the lasting impact? How did this rivalry actually end up forging the web we use every single day?
What's really interesting is that in the end, their competition was a huge win for everyone. By battling it out, MongoDB and Cassandra made the entire NoSQL movement legitimate.
They proved to the whole world that there was another, better way than the old relational model, and that changed how we build applications forever.
So what did Mongo really leave us with? Well, it's all about accessibility. It proved that these powerful, complex database concepts didn't have to be hard. It made NoSQL approachable and, frankly, fun for developers. It just opened the door for so many more people.
And Cassandra? Its legacy is pure, unadulterated scale. It showed the world that a NoSQL database could handle workloads that were just science fiction a few years earlier. We're talking billions of transactions, spread across continents, running 24/7 without a single point of failure. It proved it could be done.
You know, at the end of the day, this was never just a story about two pieces of software. It was about two powerful philosophies. One was obsessed with agility, the speed you need to create something new. The other was obsessed with resilience, the strength you need to handle massive success. One chased speed, the other chased stability, and by pushing each other to the absolute limit, they didn't just build great products, they built the era we live in now.